everyone, and thank you for joining me. We have a significant winter storm making its way across the United States, and this particular system is expected to bring both heavy snow and hazardous ice. A fast-moving low-pressure system is gathering strength as it moves from the Central Plains toward the East Coast. This will spread a dangerous combination of heavy snow and icy conditions, starting in Kansas and stretching all the way to Maine. We are anticipating a broad area of accumulating snowfall beginning in the Central Plains. This will continue all the way through New England, with many communities on track to receive 3 to 7 inches of snow. However, our greatest concern is a concentrated corridor of heavy snow from the Great Lakes to the northeast, where snowfall totals in the double digits are certainly possible. Places such as Erie, Albany, Worcester, and Concord could receive over a foot of snow if the most intense bands of precipitation settle over those areas. For most winter storms, snow is the primary concern. But with this system, there is another element that I believe is far more dangerous, and I want to be sure you are aware of it. That is the potential for widespread freezing rain. We are expecting this to be a possibility across Arkansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, and even in the higher elevations of the Carolinas. It is important to remember that even a very light glaze of ice can make for treacherous travel conditions. Some areas within this zone could see 1/10 of an inch or more, which is enough to weigh down tree limbs and potentially lead to scattered power outages. So, in our forecast today, we are going to carefully break down exactly what you need to know about this approaching nor'easter that will affect a large portion of the United States. And before we go any further into the details, I would like to mention something personal. As you can see, I am in a completely different setting today. Believe it or not, I am speaking to you from a cruise ship in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. My family and I are on vacation for the next 7 days, but I am committed to providing you with important weather forecasts as they are needed. And I certainly feel this forecast is needed, given the dangerous winter storm that is developing across the country. So, let's get right to the details. Here is what the situation looks like this morning. We are already seeing some bands of moderate snowfall across parts of Kansas, along with some freezing rain in Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, and southwest Missouri that is beginning to intensify. This will be a significant concern throughout the morning and into the early afternoon. We are expecting a very light area of freezing drizzle and rain that will stretch from Little Rock, Arkansas, all the way to Joplin, Missouri. What this means is that if even a small amount of freezing rain accumulates on the roads, conditions will become very slippery, especially on any untreated surfaces. I am genuinely concerned that we will see many such hazardous spots throughout the day in Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, and southern Missouri. As we move toward the lunchtime hours, the area of snow is expected to expand from central Kansas into western Illinois. Freezing rain will continue to be a threat across northern Arkansas and southern Missouri, while heavy rain is expected farther south toward the Gulf Coast. Therefore, we are not anticipating any winter weather in Louisiana, Mississippi, or Texas. Then, by the late afternoon, that snow will continue to expand in coverage. This is happening because 2 distinct air masses are converging. We have one system moving over the Rocky Mountains, and another drawing moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. All of this moisture will merge into one large storm system as we head into late Monday night and early Tuesday, which means the snowfall is going to not only cover a larger area across multiple states, but it is also going to become much heavier. We will begin to see heavy snowfall during the evening hours on Monday across Illinois and also near Indianapolis. At the same time, freezing drizzle will remain a threat in far western Kentucky, near communities such as Mayfield, southeast Missouri, and northeastern Arkansas. Near Jonesboro, we could experience a brief period of freezing rain, which means ice accumulation is possible on untreated roads. This is a particular concern for late Monday night into early Tuesday morning. The snow is then expected to expand even further. You may notice on the weather map all of those dark blue colors appearing across the Ohio Valley. That coloring indicates much heavier snowfall, with rates that could be as high as 2 to 3 inches per hour. This will be a rather intense winter weather event. However, the good news for those of you who are not fond of the snow is that this is a very fast-moving system. For most locations, the heaviest part will only last about 4 to 6 hours. This snow is also expected to be quite wet, which means it will not accumulate as quickly on the ground. But it will certainly add to the snow totals from the last few days, when many of you saw record-breaking snowfall for the month of November. This includes areas near Fort Wayne, Indiana, and also in central Illinois near Springfield and St. Louis. Then, during the overnight hours, we will see some freezing rain across parts of Kentucky, southern Ohio, and just to the west of Nashville. Again, this precipitation will be very light, but it could be just enough to make some roadways slick. It will not accumulate into a major ice storm because the system is moving so quickly. However, what could become dangerous is what happens on the back side of this system. Behind this low-pressure system, we have the freezing rain, and then we have all of this moderate to heavy snowfall following it. This means we could face a threat of black ice on Tuesday morning, which could then be covered by a layer of snow. This creates a particularly hazardous situation in some locations, where a very thin, nearly invisible layer of ice is hidden underneath a fresh coating of snow. This could certainly lead to school cancellations, or at least delays on Tuesday morning. That heavy snow will then move into the northeast on Tuesday morning. By around 7 o'clock in the morning, we expect snow to be covering all of Pennsylvania and New York, and also moving into New England. Then, as we get into the afternoon hours, we will be talking about some very heavy snowfall across parts of New York, near Albany, and also near Worcester in Massachusetts. These areas could see moderate to heavy snowfall. Folks in that region, you will be right on the dividing line between rain and snow. Farther north, in New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont, a fast-moving nor'easter will be taking place during the day on Tuesday. Then, by Tuesday evening, most of the snow will begin to taper off. It will likely continue snowing across Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont until about midnight. But for everyone else in the Northeast, the snow should be finished by the evening hours. So, while this will be a very quick-moving nor'easter, it will certainly cause some significant disruptions. Now, let us talk more specifically about how much snow and ice we expect from this winter storm over the next couple of days, starting with snowfall accumulation across the Central Plains and the Midwest. For the most part, we are forecasting a widespread 2 to 4 inches of snow. Parts of central Kansas could see isolated amounts near 5 inches of snow. But generally speaking, it is a quick-moving system. We are not talking about a major winter storm for Missouri, Kansas, or western Illinois. But for those of you in the rest of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, much of this new snow will be accumulating on top of what is already on the ground. In these areas, we are expecting at least a widespread 2 to 4 inches of additional snow. I do believe it is realistic to see around 3 to 6 inches, and perhaps even totals closer to 4 to 8 inches of snow in parts of central and eastern Indiana, as well as western and northern Ohio. So, there is definitely some good news for you if you were hoping for more snow. As for areas farther south, near Nashville for example, I do not expect to see much snowfall. We may see some snow flurries on the backside of the storm early Tuesday morning, but there is almost no chance of any significant snow accumulation in Tennessee. Now, looking at the Northeast, the eastern Ohio Valley, and through the Mid-Atlantic, we are forecasting much higher snowfall totals for these regions. One area where the forecast is trending higher for snow compared to yesterday is Pennsylvania, as well as New York and parts of New England. Here, we will likely see at least 4 to 8 inches of snow. I do believe it is possible that we could see some localized areas receive 10 to 12 inches of snow, especially if those heavier bands of precipitation align perfectly. That is certainly a possibility in southern Vermont and also near Lake Erie, where there is a chance for some lake-effect snow on top of what this main system brings. It is looking quite likely that we will have a few areas with significant snowfall accumulation. But across the board, to summarize, we expect a widespread 3 to 7 inches of snow, and there will certainly be some areas that receive totals in the 6 to 10 inch range. And again, isolated amounts over 10 inches cannot be ruled out. This will be quite a notable storm to begin the winter season across the Northeast. Now, another major concern of mine with this storm is the threat of ice accumulation. While this will not be a full-fledged ice storm, there is a legitimate risk today, and into early tomorrow morning, for some ice accumulation across parts of Arkansas, southern Missouri, eastern Oklahoma, western Tennessee, and into Kentucky. This ice will not be everywhere, but there will be enough of it that any untreated roads could easily become slick. I am concerned that we may see some traffic accidents today because of this ice across Arkansas, so please make sure if you have any intention of traveling over the next 24 to 48 hours, you are taking it very slowly out there. This is especially true in Arkansas or really anywhere that you see any of the pink shading on the map. Keep in mind, we can still see ice accumulation outside of this highlighted area. And again, this is not a 1/10 of an inch of ice for most of you, at least in these areas. This is an accumulation of up to about a 1/20th of an inch of ice. That may not sound like much, but I must stress that it only takes a light glazing of ice, which is less than 1/100th of an inch, to create dangerously slick roadways. That could easily happen on untreated roads in the Ozarks. Now, looking over toward the East Coast, there is a greater chance for more significant ice accumulation. By no means is this a major ice storm for the East Coast either, but we will likely see some scattered locations receive around a 1/10 of an inch of ice from freezing rain across the Appalachian Mountains. Eastern Kentucky could also see some ice accumulation, up to about 1/20 of an inch. The important point is that with this amount of ice accumulation, there is the potential for isolated power outages, especially in the Appalachian Mountains. And significant travel impacts are certainly possible. So please, make sure you are staying safe out there over the next 48 hours. Now, looking beyond this winter storm, we do see some more weather on the way for later this week, though nothing quite as major in terms of. For Wednesday, we are not expecting any significant snowfall, though some light snow will dust the upper Midwest and the Rockies. However, our attention will then turn to the Gulf Coast, as we will need to keep a close watch on a new storm system expected to form there by Thursday and Friday. This system will begin to organize over the southern plains late on Thursday, bringing with it the possibility of heavy rainfall and even some isolated severe weather, all developing just underneath a high-pressure system. That area of high pressure will be building across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. Then, as we move into the later part of Friday and into Saturday, a more substantial threat for isolated severe weather will emerge right along the Gulf Coast. We may also see some freezing rain and snow reaching as far south as North Carolina and Virginia, and possibly making another appearance in the mid-Mississippi Valley on Friday. It is a situation that certainly bears watching very closely. Looking ahead to next weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, conditions could become more active. We are tracking the potential for another significant snowfall across the Midwest, which could bring approximately 3 to 6 inches of accumulation. Now, as we look even further into the following week, please keep in mind that this is a very long-range forecast. One of our primary forecast models, the GFS, is suggesting that our weather pattern in mid-December could be quite active across the United States. This could mean we will have a couple of major storm systems to contend with. A great deal will depend on what transpires in the Pacific Ocean over the next 7 days or so. If a strong atmospheric river develops over the Pacific Northwest, we could see a pattern similar to the one we experienced over the past 7 days, which produced 2 separate winter storms. You may recall that one of those storms impacted the Midwest, while the second one tracked across the Midwest, into the Ohio Valley, and then on to the Northeast. It is also important to note that today officially marks the beginning of meteorological winter.